There, welcome back to your Zone of Potential Quick Zap. I'm your host, Coach Corinne. I've created a few newsletters and talked a bit about this month's topic, but I've only touched on it, and I think it's worth digging in a little deeper. So this Quick Zap is entitled Rethinking Your Reality. You make certain decisions in life and behave in certain ways based on your own reality, regardless of whom is involved. And people talk about being mindful and changing their mindsets, but what does that really mean, and how can we do that? You may be at the beginning of a decision, looking into what you want or thinking about how you feel about something, or you may be even at a point of deciding. So in this video, we'll talk a little about the 7 filters, and we'll dig into one a little more detail, so you can be aware of how you make your choices and possibly use it for future actions. But before we go on, a quick note about my website. Please take a look at it. There's free downloadable tools there for you to use, and there's also some links to some self-assessments. So if you kind of want to get a little more knowledge on how you think and how you think you are, and how you are thinking. Check it out. I think you'll like it. So what is our reality, and how does it impact our actions? Every bit of information, that is data that comes into our heads and we shape it, right, to form a thought, it all comes from our 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. In order to process the data in our heads and formulate a thought about it, the data runs through filters so it can relate to it and determine what it is and really what we want to do with it now or even in the future. We basically bounce it off of what we already know, or if it's something new, we compare it to similar things that we've experienced in our past so we can store it for later use. So when we ingest the data, we shape the data into something we understand and are often comfortable with identifying. Comfort in the sense of thinking we know what it is, not necessarily comfortable with how we handle it. So you've heard the phrase, your perception is your reality, right? Well, what you formulate in your mind is what you perceive to be true, really, for you. Here's a couple examples. You may, for each one of those sight, sound, etc., you may think that a car that you see is a certain type when it's actually something different. You may even make a bet on it, right? And then you lose the bet because it is something different. But in your mind, you related to something that you've seen in the past. You may have heard a deep voice on the phone and you might have assumed it was a male, but in actuality it was a female. I got that quite a bit while I was growing up because my voice is really raspy. The person on the other side would say, "Son, may I speak to your father?" And I'm like, I'm not a son. And so click. I got into a lot of trouble for that one. You might not like the feel of worms until you see somebody else bait a hook. And then who cares what the worms feel like? You're going to catch some fish, right? So you may still not like the feel of the worms, but your mindset about the worms may have changed. And then in terms of taste, you may have liked the taste of something in the past, like Brussels sprouts or something like that, and you were coaxed into trying them again, and then voila, all of a sudden, you now like Brussels sprouts or whatever it is that you didn't like. And then you will continue to like that. So you've changed your mind. So now you're willing to try those out. And then the smell of horse manure might stink to you at one point, and then you may have associated that with money, and then the next time you smell it, instead of smelling stinky, which it still stinks, you may think in your head, I don't mind it so much because it smells like money, if you like money. Whatever it is, it's your reality. You can think of some instances that you've encountered where you thought something was one way but ended up being something else, can't you? Of course you can. We all have. You form a thought inside your head of what it was, and you use that information to generate an internal representation. That's where we get stuck. So what happens with the internal representation? Well, before we touch on that, let's dig into what your subconscious mind does with the data to shape your reality. So in order to shape the data into your reality, we send them through filters in our subconscious mind. Our subconscious is that you're not totally aware of what you're doing. It helps us to multitask, right? To have a conversation and drive at the same time. And we do that to make sense of them. This happens rather quickly based on where we tend to focus our attention or how fast we need to respond to an event. You see, our minds are hit with about 2 billion bits per second. That's a lot. But you can only pay attention to 134 bits per second, which is still a lot. But everything else within those approximate 2 billion bits per second is deleted, distorted, or generalized. So what we focus on is what we drum up that comes through our filters. And what are our filters? Those are our attitudes, our values and beliefs, our metaprograms, our decisions, our memories, our language, and our environment. All of these, environment being time, space, matter, and energy, all of these drive our internal representation. They generate a certain feeling and a physiology, and they drive us to perform a specific behavior. So let's go through them rather quickly. Your attitude is basically the thoughts you bring to each situation, and they tend to be linked to values and beliefs, whether shallow values and beliefs or deep-seated, deep-rooted values and beliefs. Your values and beliefs are what's important to us. Your values are what's important to us, and they drive your beliefs to offer a sense of perceived security in our lives. I won't dig into those anymore. We'll talk about those in another video. Your metaprograms are thoughts about thoughts. So they're your frame of reference. They're your match or mismatch. Are they for you or for others? They're necessity or possibility. Those are your thoughts about what you're thinking. And then your decisions and memories, I kind of clump those two together, right? They're tied to what we've already experienced and decided was true for us. So everyone does something different based on previous sensory experiences and decisions. And then there's language. Language is labeling external events to give it meaning. This is the definition that you put into whatever you're dealing with. And then finally is the environment, your time, space, matter, and energy. Those are your personal perceptions of each time, space, matter, and energy versus the designated measurable units. Each one of those has measurable units to them. Although the filters impact how we act, what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on our environment filter, time, space, matter, and energy. Because if you're not satisfied with the results you're getting with the way you think and you want to adjust your thoughts, maybe this can give you a starting point to determine how you came to that conclusion and change that filter to something that can work better for you. But keep in mind, the reality of everything is different for each person, because it's based on our own individual experiences within our environments that we have and are experiencing. So as we assess it, are you using your time, space, stuff, and energy wisely? Are you wasting them, or are you using them as excuses to stay in your comfort zone? So let's break these down. And when we look at time, an hour may seem much longer when you're waiting for something than when you're engrossed in something, where time may seem to fly. But an hour is still 60 minutes, right? So there is your measure, space. Some folks may feel closed in, or that people are too close, whereas others may be comfortable with the space allocations. So here is in an example, not with people, but with stuff, I would readily grab something unhealthy to snack on if it's closer to me than put forth the effort to get up and go get something healthier, right? It's closer. It's my space. It's my space. So I keep those goodies out of reach. And then matter. We also perceive the dimensions and the weight of things quite differently. Too big, too small, too heavy, too light, too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, etc. And then energy. Energy being too fast, too slow, too hot, too cold, too hard, too soft. But each of us determines what is right for us. Our reality then is relevant to our experiences of comparison to what we prefer instead of what is measured. Notice that I didn't say factual. Time, space, matter, and energy all have measurements. And then, oh, by the way, time is our biggest excuse. When we go to make decisions on something we see, hear, feel, smell, or taste, if it's not something that's important enough to us, we'll tend to use our environment filter as our reality for not achieving what we want. I can't because there's not enough time. I need more space. I don't like the way it feels. It's too cold. As your senses go through the filters, it creates an internal representation that I spoke about earlier. Remember what I said, the internal representation will then generate an emotion. I feel tired, trapped, uncomfortable, concerned, whatever that is. That emotion puts energy into motion within your body and makes you act. And so what unhelpful behaviors might those generate? You may overeat, argue, overspend, not get your chores done, whatever it is. The list can go on for you. Well, that's great, right? But how do we tackle these? What can we do? If you realize that your mind has a process that contains filters and generates a strategy for decision making, and your behaviors are based on these filters, you'll be able to recognize where the breakdown is to accomplish whatever it is you set out to do. You can determine if it's really something you desire and make it fit into your environment filter of time, space, matter, and energy as appropriate. So run it through the other filters and check to see if it offers you the most choices or the greatest benefits to impact all, not just you, but those around you. So we'll go through these. What is your attitude about the situation? Do you never have enough time or money? Does your work suck? Do you hate getting up in the morning? What is your attitude about whatever you're facing? Number 2, if you highly value something and you believe you should have it or do it, and you're not honoring your values, then why are you not putting it into your environment? So I value my health and I believe smoking is hurting my health, but I can't quit because I'm around those who do it all the time. There's your space right there. And then your thoughts about thoughts. What are you telling yourself about the questions you're experiencing inside your head? Maybe I shouldn't eat so much, but everyone around me is doing it. Well, why can't I? So what you did then is you're once again in space and you did a comparative. Everybody else is doing it, why can't I? Right? And then number 4, if you made similar decisions in the past that worked for you or someone else, is it something that will offer you the same level of experience? I decided to work out in the past, get some physical activity there, but it was too painful. So I quit. Maybe that wasn't the workout for you. Rethink that. And then number 5, if you remember doing something that worked for you and you stopped, does it fit into your current environment? If not, why can you not imagine what it would be like to do something similar? I used to run half marathons. Now I can't find time or a place to run. So you're talking about your time now and space. There are other options, right? And then number 6, how are you labeling your experiences? What words are you associating with the activity that you want to perform? Are you being specific or vague enough to accommodate your desired outcome? So what definition do you need in order to accept and to achieve your outcome? So For example, smoking, you could think smoking is disgusting, unhealthy, stinky, instead of tasty, gives me a great buzz, is social, etc. So how do you put a different definition on that event that you're approaching so you can make it easier for you to reach your outcome? There's no judgment here. If you're not happy with some aspects of your life and you want to change it, it's up to you what you determine you want. And you'll need to know what to focus on and rethink your reality of how you view, hear, feel, taste, and smell whatever it is to get whatever you want. So let's try it out. Let's just say that your doctor said you need to start exercising and you've decided that you can't because of your environment. Your environment says, in your environment, it takes too much time. I don't like being around sweaty people. I don't know what to do with the equipment, and I feel worn out before I even start. Here's all your excuses. Let's see what happens when we run it through our filters. What's my attitude about exercising? Attitude. I don't like to feel sweaty. I don't like the people who go to the gym. I don't like to work out with the opposite sex. So this is what you bring when you come to starting to exercise. Do any of these thoughts offer you safety? Don't know. Depends on what you're thinking about when you think of exercise and if it has harmed you in the past. And the second one, what's my belief about exercising and how important is it in my life? So these are your values and beliefs. I believe it's good for my health and I should make it a higher priority. Do these offer you safety? Remember, values and beliefs are for safety. Yes, they do. Because your doctor said you need to start exercising for whatever reason that was, to continue your life, right? So it is a safety mechanism. And then the next one, what am I telling myself about exercising? Well, I know it's good for me, and I often wonder why I don't just do it, because I used to exercise a lot. I'm not as good at this stuff as others. So now you're comparing yourself to other people. So this is your thought about your thoughts. And oh, by the way, it may not be, you're thinking it may not, it's for everybody else, it's not for you. So those are your thoughts. And then what made me decide to exercise in the past? So here's a decision point. At that point, maybe I wanted to look good for my new girlfriend or boyfriend. I liked the way it felt. I had more time. So are these decisions that you made in the past still applicable to now? And then how can you make new decisions to fit your current lifestyle? Right? Your decision now may be, well, the doctor told me it's important for some stinking reason and now I need to do it. Boom. Don't know. Whatever works for you. And then what was it like back before when you were exercising? And you were doing other things like working and it actually fit into your day-to-day plan, right? You felt more confident, you had more energy, you were stronger, you thought clearer, all those benefits about exercising. My body felt better. You had good memories. Or maybe you didn't have good memories and you need to create new memories in order to make it something positive for you. And then when you think about the word exercise, what comes to mind? And this is the language barrier, right? It means hard work. It just makes me really hot. Moving around and breathing too hard. It's exerting too much energy. It's going to the gym. It's running. It's lifting. It's whatever definition that you're putting to that exercise piece that's stopping you from doing what you want to do, if you want to do what the doctor said for you to do, right? So how is this language helping you exercise? How else can you define it to make it better for you? And then, knowing all of this, what makes me hold on to my excuses? My environment of time, space, matter, and energy. Maybe I'm not ready for it, and the gym is so far away. Last time I tried to start, I didn't have a workout plan or a personal trainer, and I was embarrassed because I was too slow, and weak to stay motivated and focused, right? So you're back to your environment and you're back to your excuses. Run it through your other filters and see how it works for you. So what if you could change any of the responses? Do you think you'd be able to create more options to get you exercising? The law of requisite variety states that the person with the most flexibility in a situation will control it. The more possibilities you have, the more you can experiment with each one to determine what fits best for you. You have all the knowledge, all the know-how, right? And if you don't have it inside your head, you can go research it. And you have the wisdom that's within you that makes you tick to make decisions, to put into action all those things that you desire. Things don't control you. You control you. In the scenario we just ran through, if it's time for you to change your behaviors, and you'll know when it's time, you will have all the wisdom you need to accomplish the task. Keep in mind, as you go along the process, you will get feedback, physical and mental, internal and external. The question is the feedback you're going to receive worth the time and effort that it'll take to get what you want? What benefits will you and others be able to realize if you challenge your filters on how you're deciding to do the things that you do? These are simple examples of how to use your filters to gain greater insight on what's going on. Keep in mind that not only is your perception your reality, but it's also what you project onto others. If you perceive you're bad at relationships, what are the chances that you'll have a good one? Once you've identified where the breakdown is and determined that the decision is still something worth your time, you'll need to work on changing your subconscious limitation or limitations that stop you from achieving your outcome. You'll need to decide to take from the 5 senses and reprogram the filter or filters that are hindering you. This may take repetition, or it could be an immediate decision based on how you decide to put your mind to it. This is similar to quitting smoking and dieting. Some people can do it just cold turkey, and that could be because of a devastating event in their life, or others prefer to ease into it. But using your time, space, matter, and energy filter, you can decide to incorporate the new actions into your environment. Do you know what roadblocks you've created for yourself that are holding you in place? Are you continuing to make excuses and reasons for not accomplishing what you know you should do? As a certified coach and master neurolinguistic programmer, I can help you with these challenges and more. So if you're frustrated, if you're tired, if you're stressed out about not doing what you want, you may want to identify how you're creating your reality and rethink the way you're thinking. So how are you supposed to get what you want if you continue to do the same things over and over and over? Time is flying. It's all in your head. So let's create some new actions that create new thoughts to slow down time and generate new helpful options for your future. What was it like the last time you felt like you were in control instead of everything else controlling you? Together, we'll create some new thought strategies by rethinking your reality to get you where you're meant to be, in your zone of potential. Thanks for joining me. See you next month.